Yechezkel chapter 18 talks about the combinations of what makes a person a tzaddik. You ever see it? Tzaddik chayo yechya. I'll read Yechezkel's definition of a tzaddik. It talks about the righteous person who will live and the person who's not righteous, the Rasha. Here it says, it's a wonderful idea. V'ish kiyat tzaddik v'asam mishpat tzedakah. Man wants to be a tzaddik, wants to be righteous. Asam mishpat tzedakah. Justice and charity. Mishpat is just being fair. He has to make sure things are fair, do it right. Social justice is a perversion of the idea of mishpat and tzedakah. Why? Because justice is always thinking about personally. You can't hold a group responsible for something that they did not do and say, okay, social justice, this group needs something because that group or whatever. It's crazy. And tzedakah, by the way, is something that's never asked of the government. People have to do tzedakah. To say, oh, let the government give out, welfare and stuff like that. That's not necessarily good because government has so much waste and misdistributes and all that. The Torah is not talking about these things. But a righteous person does mishpat and tzedakah. So those are ben adam la chaviro, correct? And then it says el arim lo achal. He didn't eat upon the mountains. There are various interpretations of what that means. Usually it says he didn't eat of avodah zarah. He didn't worship idols, basically. No idol worship. It's an expression he didn't want to say. The Navi didn't want to say explicitly he didn't worship any idols. So he's using this expression. And there's another pshat I'm forgetting right now.
Could it mean bamos?
Yeah, but bamos are also forbidden. But here, a righteous person once upon a time used to do that. So we need something that's a crossing. Now lo no nasa el gilulei Beit Yisrael. And he didn't raise his eyes to the Gilulei Beit Yisrael. He didn't, he didn't want to engage in idolatry like everybody else. Ve'esheth re'ehu lo timei. He did not contaminate his friend's wife. No adultery. Ve'isha nida lo yikrav. He didn't go any near any woman who was menstruant. So this is ben adam lamakom mitzvahs. Ve'ish lo yoneh. He didn't afflict anybody, which means in this case he didn't rip anybody off monetarily. Okay, that's no, it means taking more than one should in business. No ripping anybody off. Chavol athochov yashiv. If he took a security from someone, he gave it back to them. Okay, and it says in Devarim, you take a security from the poor person, you have to give it back. If you took his pillow, you have to give it back at night. Because they love lo yigzol. Of course, he didn't steal anything. Take that which is not his. Lachmo l'ra'ev yitain. He gave of his bread to the hungry, or he would give his. It means he feeds the poor. Ve'rom yichaseh bachet. He would clothe the those who do not have clothing. This is also ben adam lachavero. Baneshech lo yitain. He would not lend with interest. With tarbith lo yikach, he did not take interest. But some say neshech and tarbith the same. No, neshech is he lends, and tarbith is when they give it back. Or neshech is money, interest on money, and tarbith is interest on goods. That means he lent apples, and he's expecting more apples back. Okay, so there's a few shots. What's the difference? And basically, it's just a poetic way of saying he didn't take interest because he's not supposed to take interest. What do you say? May alwel yashiv yado. From iniquity, he would take his hand back. No, I'm not going to touch something that's ill-gotten gains. Mishpatameth yaseh beinish leish. He'd also do justice between two people. It means he would judge them fairly. He would walk in my ways, and he would keep my statutes in order to do truth. And this is very important. Chukos hagayim is when they just decide to do things that are kind of superstitious or crazy. You just can't do like them. Like everybody cuts their hair a certain way. This also has to do with hair, dress, and not matters of speech, but behaviors. But if there was a way that they speak also, presumably you could. This is a rejoinder, by the way, to those who somehow have forgotten that you could be righteous by just focusing on ben adam lachavero. There's also ben adam lamakom. And there's some who are too over-focused on ben adam lachavero, and they're turning a blind eye to the gilui arayos that are happening. We said here the righteous person, he keeps tilchos nida, and he's not an adulterer. And it goes without saying that he's not, let's say, engaging in the other rayos. Okay? Whereas, nowadays people are basically giving their stamp of approval to certain arayos as though they don't exist. You cannot be righteous. If you want to be, remember that it says, it begins here, he does mishpat tzedakah, and that's how it ends. Yes, it's very good to want to do mishpat tzedakah, but if you skip out on all the middle things. God also told you you can't worship idols, and you can't engage in the forbidden relations. So it's not pick and choose. Problem is people pick and choose nowadays.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.